Hello, and a very good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are visiting us from in the world and what time you're watching this webinar. It's a massive pleasure to have you on here. My name is Ben, and I'm going to be your host for today. Okay, now today's webinar, 4 steps to change your life. Okay, the content that we're going to bring you should hopefully fill you with value and exciting ideas to drive you forward. Okay, but before we do that, I'm going to run you through a little bit about how today's session is going to run so that you can understand it a little bit better from your perspective. Your time is valuable, and we want to make sure that you enjoy this content and make the most out of it. Okay, so I'm here today. Once again, my name is Ben, with my good friend and business partner, Rory. Okay. Now, what's going to happen today is I am going to act as your host. We're going to do a brief introduction with myself right before we kick off, and then Rory is going to take you for the brunt of the content. Now, this content is going to be segmented into 4 separate stages. So in between each stage, do take your time to pause, go ahead and write down any notes, anything you feel like might be valuable to you. It's important that throughout today's session, you do take your time to learn and absorb what you need to learn, because this webinar will only be as valuable to you as you make it for yourself. Okay, so once again, today's topic, 4 steps to change your life. Now, this webinar is presented to you by the Morning Mindshift. Okay, now the 4 things that we're going to cover today. First of all, the 4 steps to change your life. Okay, now these are awareness, vision, system, and action. Now, if you're not 100% sure what each of these mean yet, don't worry about that, because we're going to cover it throughout today's session. Okay, second thing that we're going to talk about, 2 things that you must not do. Okay, and this is an incredibly powerful point that we're going to cover, and I would urge you to make sure that you give Rory your full attention when he's covering these things, because they are absolutely crucial to your health, well-being, and happiness. Next, we're going to run through 2 things that you absolutely must do. Okay, 2 very powerful techniques, strategies, mindset objects that you are going to understand and absorb and hopefully take positive impact thereafter. And finally, we're going to run through an optional offer with you at the end. So when Rory is finished presenting the content, as only he would know how, we're going to get to the sale, where I will bring you onto that myself. Now, the sale is optional. It's not something that you have to do. It's not something that we're even going to encourage you to do. This is only going to be valid for those who feel like they want to take action and change their lives. And if you don't feel like that after this webinar, then you are free to go. Okay, so just before we get kicked off, I'm going to introduce both myself and Rory now. Okay, so myself, my name is Ben, once again, if I haven't said that enough times already. Okay, now I'm a business coach, and what I get to do every single day is work in wonderful business ventures, just like the one that I have with Rory, and enjoy these wonderful partnerships going forward. Now, this has given me, of course, an insight to how small businesses operate, how they run, how they work. But more importantly, what it's given me an insight to is how important it is that you take care of yourself, your well-being, your health, your happiness, and your productivity. Okay, now Rory is, of course, going to give you much more information on that as we go on. Okay, which brings me nicely onto who Rory is. So Rory is the founder of the Morning Mindshift. Rory and I have been working together in a coaching capacity for a short while. Okay, now Rory as a person is somebody that I am incredibly grateful to have met, because often when you find in these business coaching relationships, I am the one doing most of the talking. Now, what I find so important and so valuable when it comes to what I've learned with Rory and from Rory is that I've picked up on things that I didn't think I would ever know. And the interesting thing is, it wasn't even something that was highlighted to me that I thought, oh, wow, actually, I need to learn about that. What actually came across were things that I wouldn't have even have registered, wouldn't have even thought of. And this is what I hope that you can gain from this webinar today, because he is an incredibly interesting person. More importantly, we have some incredibly interesting content for you today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass the screen over to Rory, who's going to take you forwards through today's session. And hopefully you're going to take in a lot of value from this. So Rory, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ben. Brilliant introduction. And thank you all of you who are listening, watching today. I really do value your attention. It's very easy to say, but it's something that I wholeheartedly mean. You know, your time and attention today are of the utmost importance to me, and I'm going to repay that through offering you some incredible content. Content not in the Instagrammable sense of something that you forget in an hour tomorrow, but content that can change your life. So my mission is to help you change your life. My mission is to set you free. This started with me wanting to set myself free. free from depression, free from chronic disease, free from substance dependency, free from all of the ways in which I self-sabotaged or limited myself in the pursuit of an otherwise traditionally successful career. What do I mean? I mean, I had a lot of money, I went to some great places, but I was thoroughly miserable. There was a disconnect between how I found my meaning externally, so my work, and what I actually stood for, my internal meaning, my values, my purpose, integrity, etc. So I want to share everything that I've learned transforming my own life to help you change your life. And everything that I've learned, I've distilled into Mindshift journaling. What is Mindshift journaling? And what do I mean when I say I want to set you free? I want to set you free to change your life. Well, a mind shift is a decision to live in free nature. Now let's just come back to what else it is, and let's just stay on that free nature element for a second. What is free nature? You are in free nature. Unfortunately, you're in free nature less frequently than you're in limited nature, but you're in free nature when you're in your flow. You'll have heard of flow state, or you'll have heard the expression when you're in your frame. So you're in free nature when you're in your frame, when you're in flow. It's when you're your most confident. It's when you're content with who you are right there in that moment, not wishing something different about the past, not thinking anxiously about the future, not wondering what if, not wanting to rush through this moment, but just there, confident, having fun, confident in your skills, enjoying yourself. That's you in free nature. So Mindshift journaling is about connecting with that place, that person, the person who you are when you're in free nature. And then to that first bullet point, once you're there, once you're connected, once you're in free nature, it's about aiming up. It's about going, okay, from this position of strength, now, who could I be? What could that give me? Where could that take me? Who could I spend my time, my money with? Who could I enjoy the fruits of being who I could be without limitation with? And crucially, in order to get there, in order to put yourself in free nature, to aim up, to consciously move towards a future self, you have to hold yourself to account on the journey. So Mindshift journaling is those three things. It's connecting with your flow state, with who you are without limitation, what I call free nature. It's aiming up and having that vision of who you could be if you spent your whole time in free nature. And then it's holding yourself account to get there. And then this doesn't happen once or by accident or at random. This happens day in, day out. This is embedded day in, day out. So we do this through guided daily journaling. The structure is the same, maybe the themes differ, but structurally we're doing the same things every day through our guided journaling to put ourselves in free nature, to aim up and to hold ourselves to account. That brings me on to the 4 steps to change your life. Now we need 4 things to change our lives. First and foremost, we must, before we even think about who we want to be, who we could be, and what that gives us in terms of where we are in the world and what we're doing and who we're spending our time with, before we get anywhere near that, we must first understand how we self-sabotage. How do we limit ourselves? Because we all spend most of our lives exploring only a fraction of our potential. We're limiting ourselves. We're self-sabotaging when we start to enjoy some success. So building in that awareness of how and why we do that is the first step to changing your life. Secondly, you now look up, because from that point of awareness, you understand how you limit yourself, you understand where you're in free nature, you understand and begin to preempt and then sidestep self-sabotage to stay in free nature. Now you've got a platform, you've got a foundation. So from there, you need a vision. So who is this future self? Who are you without limitation? What are you capable of? If you weren't limiting yourself, if you weren't self-sabotaging, what could you put that time and energy and resource towards? That, I'm excited just thinking about that right now. It brought a smile to my face, because that's where it really starts to come alive and we light that fire inside you. So that vision for your future self, that's the second step you need to change your life. 3, it needs to be systematized, because we can build in some awareness on a Tuesday, it's gone by Wednesday. We can be aware Monday through Friday, not on Saturday. We can be aware for weeks, months, consecutively. But when shit happens, and shit always happens in life, if we're not on top of our structure and our processes, the awareness begins to slip. We fall back into learned behavior, well-established patterns that limit us. So we need that system, guided daily journaling, and where that flows out and what that turns into for the rest of your day. Now, it's going to help combat negative thinking. As human beings, we're hardwired for negativity. It's a brilliant survival strategy to be fearful and worried and to be second guessing, because you're not caught by surprise by that predator. It was brilliant a couple of 100,000 years ago. It's not quite so cool now, where we're constantly assaulted by notifications, social media, work emails, family life, the complexities of the modern world. So we need to think about that and build the burden of positive proof in our lives. The system does that, and it helps you hold yourself to account. So we're honest about our achievements, about our shortcomings. We treat ourselves with kindness, with compassion. And the system helps us then pinpoint what we need to be doing. What do we need to change? It delivers us to some intentions. And then all we need to do is step 4, purposeful action. So if we've got the awareness of how we limit ourselves, we spend more time in free nature, confident, content, in our flow state, in our frame, who we can be without limitation. We then have a vision for that future self, for who we're becoming. We then have a system to put ourselves there every single day, i.e. more awareness, remind ourselves of our vision, take an honest, compassionate accounting of where we're at, where we've got to, where are we on that journey, on that path. Hold ourselves to account where we need to, set some intentions, and then number 4, go out and act. So there are 4 steps, or they're your 4 steps to change your life. And to simplify this further, and to really emphasize the importance of some key points here, we're going to talk about 2 things that you must not do in order that you change your life, that you become that future self that you dream of being, that you live that life that you desire and deserve. 2 things you must not do, and then 2 things you must do. The first thing you must not do is to act on autopilot. So when we're acting on autopilot, we're just letting life happen to us. You'll have heard the expression downward spiral, to be caught in a downward spiral. Well, what does that really mean? It means we're cruising along an autopilot. We're not attempting to broaden or deepen our awareness of who we are, of our belief system, of our values, of who we think we are, and how we fit into the world. We're not understanding the motivation behind our behavior. We're not understanding the motivation behind the behavior of others around us, colleagues, bosses, friends, family. We're cruising along. And we can get away with that for a while. Because oftentimes life is good. There aren't really any assaults on our psyche, on our time, on our finances, on our mental health, on our physical health. But then shit happens. We come under stress. We suffer loss, bereavement, professional setback, personal relationship ends, relationship breaks up, whatever happens, something happens that triggers us. Remember, we're hardwired for negativity. And crucially, you want to change your life. You are not yet where you want to be. You are not yet who you could be without limitation. So what that tells me is that you are constantly having a conversation with your past self, and you are reinforcing learned behavior. You are telling yourself stories that limit you. Yeah, you're also telling yourself some stories that set you free, but they're crowded out and they're overshadowed by the stories that limit you. And I know that because if that wasn't the case, you wouldn't need to watch this. There wouldn't be something in your life that you'd need to change, right? So I can labor under that assumption and it would be correct. So the stress comes along and you start to operate on those limiting beliefs, those limiting stories, those things that hold you back, that lead to self-sabotage, they take over. Decades worth of programming kicks in. You start to tell yourself limiting stories. You're not good enough. It's okay that that person treats you that way. You'll never be a success. You're lazy and you'll never work hard. You'll never achieve the body that you want. It's just not for you. It's just not possible. These are all limiting stories. You'll never be lucky in love, etc. and so on. I could keep going. But you have to self-soothe that, because these are things that are hard for us to hear, even though we're saying it to ourselves. Things we'd never say to a best friend. You know, we are our own worst enemy. We are our own most extreme critic. Never more so than when we're on autopilot and we're running those limiting stories. So how do we make ourselves feel better? We self-soothe. It's different for everyone. You might compulsively shop, binge eat chocolate, pour yourself another glass of wine, get online and lose yourself in pornography, gamble away your earnings, whatever it is. You're doing something to self-soothe that negative story, that negative self-talk, and you get temporary relief or distraction. It works. It works for a bit. And the longer you do it for, and the more often you do it, the less time it works for and the less benefit you're getting, until you're consciously aware that you're acting out behaviors that are no good for you, but you're doing it anyway. You're on autopilot. And then soon after, you're experiencing guilt, regret. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, I fucking hate myself when I do that. The self-loathing that follows. And what does it do? It just leaves you weakened and less able to deal with the next stressful situation, which you know, I know, is coming, because that's life. And that's the downward spiral. So of the two things you must not do, the first one is just to act on autopilot. You've got to become aware of the ways in which you limit yourself and you self-sabotage if you want to change your life. Number two, so the second thing you must not do is, and we've all been guilty of this in our lives, some of us more than others, but we've all done this. You know you have. Is to have that all or nothing mindset where you're seeking perfection, or you're absolutely stalled and overwhelmed by everything you're trying to do at once. You know, we are either seeking perfection, we're procrastinating, we're not pulling the trigger on something. Our life is ordered, because even though perhaps it doesn't work for us, perhaps we're not happy with the life we've got, it's what we know and it feels safe. There's no growth there. You can't change your life in a place of absolute safety, even if it's unhappy safety. Nor can you change your life, in a place of absolute chaos. So if you're the type of person who goes, right, on Monday, I'm starting a new diet, I'm going to the gym, I'm handing in my notice, I'm doing that online course, I'm starting that business, the side hustle's kicking off, I'm going to get back on dating apps, or I'm going to get out of this toxic relationship, and I'm going to do it all on that one day, and it's all going to happen for me, and I'm going to change my life. You might do one of those things, you might do two of those things, and maybe it will last, but there's no way you'll do all of those things and make it last all at once. It's chaotic, it's overwhelming, it's far too much. Your growth lies on the cusp of order and chaos. It's called the zone of proximal development. It's a term from education, when educational psychologists were thinking about how children best learn. They need to be just that, and this applies to adults, this applies to all of us. We need to be just outside our comfort zone. So there's not complete order, there's a little bit of chaos. And that's that learning of something new. That's that trying something new. That's that doing something you haven't done before, or that you do inconsistently, and doing it consistently. You need to be there to prompt the growth, but just a little bit, not so much that you're overwhelmed. So that's the second thing you must do. You must find your minimum effective dose. Like, what's the least you can do to make progress, to grow, to step slightly outside of your comfort zone, to be in the zone of proximal development. And then the two things that we must do. So we've just looked at the two things we must not do. We must not be on autopilot, and we must not have an all or nothing mindset to changing our lives. And now what must we do? We must understand, or you must understand, who you want to be. It's fantastic to have that cathartic moment with yourself where you say, I know I want to change. Not I need to change, but I want to change, and I'm going to change. I want to feel differently to the way I do now. I want to change my life. And I'm going to become aware of why I do what I do that leaves me trapped and unable to change, or stops me from changing. Brilliant. But where are you going? So you must know who you could be, who you want to be without limitation. Who's that future self? And you must realize that you need that inspiration. You need to be pulled towards that future self with an inspirational vision, not beating yourself round the head with the stick of motivation, where you're going, oh, I've got to find the motivation today. I've got to find the motivation. I must find the motivation to do this. That's all stick. There's no carrot. You need the carrot of inspiration. So you need that, but you also need to understand, and this comes back to inspiration versus motivation here, that you can't just will yourself to change your behavior. We think, okay, I want to change my outcomes in life. I want to change my life. Right. I need to act differently. Okay, I'm just going to act differently. And I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to will myself to act differently. Well, it might work for a day, for a week, for a month, maybe even 3 months. But motivation is a finite resource. And at some point, days, weeks, or months into these changes, you will run out, you will crash, you will hit rock bottom. What you need instead is an inspirational vision to be pulled towards. You need a visceral, emotional connection to who you could be, to a future self. And you need to understand that to get there, you need to be in free nature. You need to be in your flow. So to be in flow, yeah, you need to know how you limit yourself and self-sabotage, but you also need to know, what are your freeing beliefs? What are the beliefs that put you in free nature? When you hear the stories in your head, which are the freeing stories that you're going to select and run with, and which are the limiting ones that you're going to leave in the past? And what thoughts and emotions do those freeing stories produce? What behavior do they produce? And then what amazing outcomes do you get from it as a consequence? And so actually it's much more than motivation and willpower. It's first having the inspiration. It's aiming up, but it's also then going, okay, I'm now more aware. I get to choose the stories I tell myself. I get to choose my self-talk, my internal monologue, that dialogue, and I'm going to select for all the stuff that sets me free, the beliefs and stories that set me free, because I know it makes me feel this way. And when I feel this way, I act this way. And when I act this way, I go and do amazing things in the world. And lastly, the second of the two things that you must do, you must always choose your future self, or you must choose your future self the vast majority of the time. Because in reality, complicated decisions are simple. A complicated decision that you're not sure whether to take, whether it be what you do within your relationship, whether it be whether you go for that promotion, whether you hand your notice in, whether you start that business, whether you choose to raise your children in this way, whether you speak to your husband or wife in this way, whether you get on and make that nutritional change or go and do that workout or not, whatever it is, big decision, small decision, it's binary. You are either choosing your past self or your future self. Does that decision set you free, take you closer to being who you could be without limitation, or does it leave you repeating the same old behaviors that won't change, won't give you a different outcome, or leave you exactly where you are wanting to change your life? So it's a decision between past and future. Boil everything down to that. That's the second thing you must do. Awareness. How are you limiting yourself? Where are you in free nature? That's your flow state, when you're at your best, when you're completely content and in the moment. How do you get from being limited to being in free nature? How do you know when you're starting to limit yourself? How do you set yourself up? What are the precursors to free nature? That's all about awareness. That's understanding the stories that you tell yourself and the beliefs that they're built upon. So you need awareness, you need a vision. Where are you going? Who could you be without limitation? And then you need your daily system to give you time and space to build in that awareness, to remind you of your vision, to, with compassion and kindness, hold yourself to account. Are you on track? Are you sticking to the plan? Are you ticking off the goals along the way? And then what's the plan for today? And now let's go and take action. So you need awareness, vision, system, and action. The four big things we're thinking about, the two do nots, the two do's. What you absolutely cannot do is just act on autopilot and let life happen to you. And if you've decided to change, and clearly you have, because you've made it this far through the webinar, and thank you very much, you can't have an all or nothing attitude, an all or nothing mindset, seeking perfection or stepping headlong into changing everything at once, because you'll get stalled by how overwhelming that chaos is, or you'll never ever move forward because you'll be stalled by the pursuit of perfection. You'll have days that feel like a great leap forward, but are followed by inconsistency, so no change is really embedded, or you'll go nowhere at all because you're trying to do everything at once. And then what you must absolutely do is you must understand who you could be without limitation, your future self. You must know your future self and how you limit yourself now. And then finally, you must choose that future self. So it's all well and good knowing who they are, but in the moment, you must be able to make that decision and go, I choose my future self. I choose freeing stories, stories that put me in my flow, who make me who I am destined to be. And you make that choice. I am now going to hand back over to Ben. Thank you very, very much for your time, for your attention. And before I hand over to Ben, I am so excited for you, because this system that we've outlined here will change your life. I know you're fired up and you're about to go away and go, who's my future self and what's my system? And I'm going to get this in tomorrow morning, everything else. And that is one of the greatest feelings you can have in life. I remember it fondly myself. And I feel connected to you at this moment. Over to
Awesome. You. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, Rory, for an incredible presentation. I hope that everybody enjoyed it. I hope that everybody is relaxed and excited simultaneously, because this is the goal of what we're looking to do here. And what an incredibly inspiring guy Rory is. How interesting the things that he speaks about. And this is what I meant when I introduced him at the beginning of the webinar, to tell you, I learned things I don't even know. I learned things today that I didn't know, because whilst like you, I can read the slides, I can't guess what he's going to come out with next. Okay, so here's something cool that I'm going to run through with you just now. Okay, it's something that we put together very specifically and designed for you. There's something that we've been working on to craft, something that could bring you further value. Now, the reason that I'm running you through this today is because what you have seen, from what you have been inspired by, from what the value that you've been driven from, okay, this is but a snippet of something that you can do. Now, as Rory says, if you really do want to release the limits that you have on yourself, mind shift being the key word here, okay, you want to shift your mind to become the best version of yourself. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't currently love your life. It doesn't mean that you don't currently love aspects or components of it. What this means is, if you want to achieve new levels of performance, new levels of who you want to be, who you know you can be, you want to be inspired and motivated daily, this is something that I do personally, that I'm going to talk you through just now. Okay, so our offer to you is simple. We like to keep things simple here. We like to keep success simple here. Okay, so because you took the time to join us on this webinar specifically, okay, now whilst I must absolutely assure you and reiterate the fact that this is not available to anyone else other than you today for being on this webinar with us. It's not on our website. It's not in any kind of other publication. We're not giving it to anyone else. This is exclusive to you, and you can only get this offer that I'm about to talk you through by being here on this webinar today. So first of all, congratulations to you. And second of all, let me get started. Okay, so the special offer that we have for you today is a 50% discount to the Morning Mindshift for life. Okay, now the key part here is for life. Okay, now you are going to be doing this Morning Mindshift for a very, very, very long time. Now, we're not going to mess about offering you a month free or 3 months free. What we're looking to do is discount this for you going forward for the rest of your life, so that you can enjoy a benefit that others will not enjoy. Okay, you are here. You have decided to take action, and you should be rewarded for doing so. So this is exactly what we want to do for you. So what you're going to need to do when you're finished watching this webinar and taking your notes and putting your tea and coffee down and whatever else you were doing, enjoying yourself, okay, I need you to go and click the link below. Okay, now what you're going to find there is a very specific discount code that you need to use to give yourself access to the Morning Mindshift program. Okay, now what I think will help, okay, to make your decision to push you forward, is to run through specifically what the Morning Mindshift is, because I'm aware I haven't given you very much detail yet. Okay, so first of all, let's begin with what Mindshift journaling actually is. Okay, so a Mindshift is a decision to live in free nature, as Rory so very well explained. Okay, now we want to aim up, we want to hold yourself to account. You want to make sure that you're holding yourself to the actions that you committed to doing. Okay, now the thing that I get personally from joining these Morning Mindshift sessions is daily encouragement. Okay, now there's something that I love to say as a business coach from here, is that motivation is temporary, work ethic is permanent. Okay, now motivation, you'll have bursts, you'll have spells of energy. And whilst I'm not going to spend any more of your valuable time running through exactly what that means, what I want to assure you is that with this consistency that you achieve, this is how you establish real change. Now, as Rory teaches the mind shift, I teach in business. If you do not do something consistently, you will not do it well. And if you do not do it well, you will not develop, you will not progress. So this is one of the most important things when it comes to mind shift journaling. This is why it is so valuable to do it repeatedly repeatedly and consistently. And if you do this for life, you will find yourself becoming a different person. Okay. So second thing to run through with you, okay, is the morning mind shift itself. All right. So what we want to offer you, what you could receive, okay, change your life with guided journaling. Okay. Now, really, what this outlines for us is a guided theory of how we do this, because yeah, absolutely, you could wake yourself up in the morning and you could tell yourself what you think you need to know, or you could sit with an expert, you could sit with somebody who's done this for themselves and is currently doing it with countless other people. Okay, we have new members coming in all the time, we have progressions developing that even we struggle to keep up with, and that is so incredible because it shows the change that we're making in so many lives. Okay. Now, the way this works, you join daily live webinars from 7:15 to 7:45 in the morning. For those of you that are early risers, you're going to absolutely love this. And for those of you that prefer a little bit of a lie-in, it might be a bit of a challenge, but I assure you from personal experience, it is absolutely worth it because it is a wonderful way to kick off your day. And it throws you into this thought process of, okay, how am I going to kick some ass today? How am I going to develop and progress as a person and as an entrepreneur or whatever it is that you want to progress on. Okay. Now, what you can do as a result of this is enjoy access to ever expanding libraries of recorded sessions. Okay, so every session that we do, every session that Rory does, he puts it in there for you to enjoy going forwards. So if there's any time where you can't make it for whatever reason at 7:15, you can go ahead and enjoy the recorded session later, or you can continue to enjoy recorded sessions if you prefer a specific topic that we talked about in the past. Okay, because Rory's dynamic, he changes things up when he feels like he needs to. Okay, so for even more insight, you can follow the How to and Why online program. This is something that Rory's going to give you as well, and has been massively beneficial to those who are running through the morning mind shift at the moment. Okay, so if you will choose to invest 30 minutes in yourself every single day to live with purpose, it's a decision that you will find progresses yourself to somebody who you know you can be. Now, I can't make that decision for you. As I said at the beginning of this webinar, this isn't something that I'm trying to sell you. This isn't something that I'm trying to force you to buy, because it's not my choice. It's yours. Now, I leave this with you. Is it something that you want to do? Is it something that you feel like you should do? Do you want to release your limits? Do you want to figure out who you can be? If the answer is yes, you're going to get access to the Morning Mind Shift for £25 a month. Now, what's that? That's probably less than the current TV subscriptions that you have for much less of the time. It's probably less than the amount you spend on takeaways per month. It's probably less than the amount of money that you just chuck away on magazines or cigarettes or alcohol every single day. Okay, now this doesn't outline everyone, but I'm using this as an example, as a metaphor, if you will, to explain how investing £25 a month in your life can drastically change the way that you look at things for the greater good going forwards. Okay, so once again, webinar attendee special offer for you as attendees of today's session. You get a 50% discount to the Morning Mind Shift for life. We normally offer this for £49 a month. We're getting it to you for £24.50. So it's not even the 25 quid that I was running through before. Okay, now in order to get this, you click the link below and you use the promo code that we're going to put there for you. Okay, so the promo code will be valid as a result of you joining this webinar today. And once again, this is not a sale, this is a choice. And it's up to you whether you want to progress from today's webinar, whether you want to keep the value going, or whether you're happy to just stop it there and keep living life as you are now. Either choice is fine. It's whichever you want to do. Take care and bye for now.